Park Saeroyi doesn't want justice. He thinks he does. You think he does. The show wants you to think he does. But watch it again. Really watch it. And what you're seeing is a man who has replaced his entire personality with a grudge, who has confused revenge with purpose, and who, by the time he gets everything he wanted, has already lost the thing that made him worth watching. That's what we're dissecting today. Section 1. The class system isn't background, it's the engine. Let me establish something the recap channels skip entirely. Itaewon Class is not a rags to riches story. It is a story about what class resentment does to a person's psychology when it's left to ferment for 15 years. Saeroyi's father is killed by Jang Geun-won, the son of a food industry chaebol. The system protects the chaebol. Saeroyi goes to prison for assaulting Geun-won. He gets out. He builds a bar. He takes down the empire. That's the plot summary. Here's what's actually happening underneath it. Korean society operates on a deeply embedded hierarchical structure. Chaebol families sit at the top, and the social contract essentially says, accept your place or be crushed. The manhwa and the drama adaptation isn't just using this as dramatic backdrop. It's asking a specific question. What happens to the people the hierarchy destroys? And do they become something better, or just a mirror image of what crushed them? Saeroyi is the answer, and the answer is uncomfortable. Section 2. The father as lost moral compass. Everything that is good about Park Saeroyi dies with his father. The father is not just a plot device. He is the last moment where Saeroyi operates from genuine human values rather than strategic positioning. When his father tells him to bow and apologize to the Jang family, to just survive, Saeroyi refuses. And in that moment, you read it as strength, integrity. The boy has a spine, but reframe it. That refusal also costs his father's life. Not directly. The accident is Geun-won's fault. But Saeroyi's inability to bend, to read the room, to understand that sometimes survival requires humiliation, that rigidity is already present. His father's death doesn't create his stubbornness. It weaponizes it. From that point forward, every decision Saeroyi makes is filtered through one question. Does this move me closer to destroying Jang Dae-hee? Not, is this right? Not, does this make me happy? Not, does this make the people I love safe? Just, does this serve the mission? That is not a hero's arc. That is radicalization with a business plan. Section 3. The resentment economy. How Saeroyi spends himself. Here's the structural move the story makes that most analysis misses. Saeroyi succeeds by conventional metrics. He builds IC, the bar becomes a chain, he accumulates capital, he outmaneuvers a billion-dollar conglomerate. On paper, the underdog wins. But track what he spends to get there. He spends 15 years, his entire 20s and into his 30s, the period of life where identity is formed, where relationships are built, where a person becomes someone. All of it is placed in escrow, deferred, mortgaged to the grudge. He spends Yi Seo. Jo Yi Seo loves him with a directness that's almost violent. She doesn't perform emotion, she doesn't play games, she tells him exactly what she feels. And Saeroyi keeps her in a holding pattern for years. Not because he doesn't care, because caring would mean admitting that something matters more than the mission. He cannot allow that. She is an asset before she is a person to him. And the show only half acknowledges how cruel that is. He spends Hyun-yi, Seung-kwan, the whole IC crew. These are people with their own trauma, their own dignity, their own needs, and they pour themselves into his vision. What does he give them in return? Proximity to his obsession. This is what class resentment actually costs. Not money, not status, time and people. The chaebol system didn't just kill his father. Through Saeroyi's response to it, it consumed his entire life. Section 4. Jang Dae-hee as the Dark Mirror. You cannot understand Saeroyi without understanding Jang Dae-hee, because Dae-hee is Saeroyi with 50 more years and a winning record. Dae-hee also came from nothing. He also clawed his way up through a system that didn't want him. He also built an empire from sheer will and the refusal to accept the position society assigned him. The difference is, Dae-hee abandoned any pretense of ethics to get there. He is what Saeroyi could become if the obsession deepens and the moral scaffolding keeps eroding. And Dae-hee recognizes Saeroyi. He respects him, not as an enemy, but as a version of himself. Watch their scenes together. Dae-hee doesn't look at Saeroyi with contempt. He looks at him with something closer to nostalgia. The story positions this as corruption versus integrity. But I want you to sit with a different reading. The distance between Saeroyi and Dae-hee is smaller than the narrative admits. Both men sacrificed human connection on the altar of a mission. Both men used people instrumentally. The only difference is that Saeroyi's mission sounds more sympathetic in a 30-second pitch. Class resentment, taken far enough, doesn't produce justice. It produces a new version of the same machine, just with different people at the controls. Section 5. What the manhwa does that the drama softens. The webtoon by Kwang Jin is darker on this point than the drama allows itself to be. The drama needs Saeroyi to be romantic. The actor is charismatic. The music swells. The cinematography flatters his jaw. Korean romance drama conventions put pressure on the narrative to resolve into something warm. But the manhwa lets Saeroyi be more obviously broken in places the drama smooths over. His fixation on Jang Geun-won's childhood girlfriend, Oh Soo-ah, in the source material, this reads less as genuine feeling and more as another dimension of his obsession. She is connected to the family that destroyed him. His feelings for her are inseparable from that connection. He doesn't fully know where the resentment ends and the emotion begins. That's a more honest portrait of trauma. When something catastrophic happens during formation, during the years when you're becoming, it doesn't just scar you, it reorganizes you. Saeroyi cannot cleanly separate his love from his obsession because the trauma happened before the separation was possible. The drama gives him Yi Seo as a clean exit from this, a love that is untouched by the Yang family history, that exists entirely on its own terms. It's satisfying. It also lets the audience off the hook from sitting with how deep the damage goes. Section 6. The resolution problem. Here's my actual critique of Itaewon Class, not as entertainment, but as a psychological portrait. The ending offers Saeroyi victory and love simultaneously. The empire falls. Yi Seo is chosen. IC thrives. Justice, more or less, is served. But nothing in the narrative has demonstrated that Saeroyi has metabolized his resentment. He has won. That's different. A person can achieve every external goal the resentment set and remain internally unchanged. The obsession simply becomes purposeless rather than resolved. What does Saeroyi do on a Tuesday when there's no enemy to outmaneuver? Who is he when the mission is complete? The story doesn't ask. That absence is the most honest thing about it. Because that's exactly what class resentment does. It is extraordinarily good at generating forward momentum and entirely silent on the question of what comes after. Park Saeroyi is not destroyed by Jang Dae-hee. He is not destroyed by the system. He is not even destroyed by poverty or prison. He is most at risk of being destroyed by the story he told himself about all of those things, and his inability, even after winning, to put that story down. Itaewon Class is compelling because it almost admits this. It lives in the space just short of full honesty, which is frankly exactly where most people live when it comes to their own resentments. That's why it resonates, not because it's a fantasy, because it's a mirror. Manhwa Dissected. See you next video.